Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
Look, 2020 has proven to be the year of many things, and the same for 2022. But if you're a small business, this could also be the year you switch to a better payroll. Gusto wasn't just built for small businesses, it was built for the people behind them. Their online payroll is easy to use. Gusto can automatically calculate paychecks and file all your payroll taxes, which means you have more time to run your business. Plus, Gusto does way more than payroll. Gusto helps with time tracking, health insurance, 401ks, onboarding, commuter benefits, offer letters, access to HR experts. You get the idea. It's super easy to set up and get started. If you're moving from another provider, they can transfer all your data for you. It's no surprise that 94% of customers are likely to recommend Gusto. And here's the best part. Because you're a listener to this podcast, you get 3 months totally free. All you have to do is go to gusto.com/compliance. That's gusto.com/compliance. I'm telling you, you're going to love Gusto. Get started today. The Daily Compliance News for September 29, 2021, the Activism Pays edition. And we begin with that story from the New York Times as Activism has agreed to pay $18 million to settle workplace misconduct claims of sexual harassment and discrimination against female employees. In a news release, Activism said the money would compensate and make amends to eligible victims, with remaining funds going to charities that advance women in the video game industry or promote awareness around harassment and gender equality efforts. I guess the whistleblower and others from the company who stepped forward that the CCO criticized were right, after all. Next up, from first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News, the Offshore Engineer. Petrofac had been scheduled to have a hearing, or rather sentencing hearing, on its UK Bribery Act case in London on Monday, but that hearing has now been postponed until Friday. Petrofac said it would plead guilty to 7 counts of failing to prevent former Petrofac Group employees from offering or making payments to agents in relation to projects awarded between 2012 and 2015 in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. The company has also struck a plea agreement with the Serious Fraud Office. The oilfield service company said the penalty would be determined by the sole discretion of the court. So we're going to wait and see what happens to Petrofac. Next up, from Mingy Sun at the Risk and Compliance Journal at the Wall Street Journal, the Cameron, the U.S. subsidiary of Schlumberger, has agreed to pay about $1.4 million to settle allegations that its Cameron, the business unit, violated U.S. sanctions related to the situation in the Ukraine. The Treasury Department alleged senior managers at Cameron International approved contracts between 2015 and 2016 for its Romanian subsidiary to supply goods to a Russian energy firm that faces U.S. sanctions. OFAC said the written request to approve the contracts referenced the provision of goods to the Russian company's offshore project and their destination for the Russian Arctic. Representatives for Schlumberger, which acquired Cameron in 2016, didn't immediately respond for comment. And in a, I have to say, just dispiriting article from the Wall Street Journal, in an investigation the journal engaged in from covering 685 lawsuits filed in federal court from 2010 to 2018, 131 federal judges broke the law by hearing a case they had financial interest in. Obviously, this is dispiriting for anyone who has been a trial lawyer or goes to trial to find out that judges are sitting in cases that they hold a financial interest in one of the parties. Clearly, this is a violation of the judicial canon of ethics, and the judges were the wide range all the way from back to LBJ up to Trump. So this is not a Republican or GOP thing. This is judges just not following the rules, and something I think needs to be done about this. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.